Athlete of the year. What's that like for you?
Whoa. Overwhelming, incredibly humbling, and I'll leave the rest up to it once this speech is over with, and I'll see how it feels. I mean, it's incredible. I don't, in my nature, don't really reflect on things very often. I don't sit and like think about the past, and like so things like this happen, and you're kind of forced to be like, whoa, you know, and like all these things come at you from the past that you haven't really thought of, and at the end of the day, yeah, you're just like, I've just been so lucky. Really, I mean, it sounds weird, but it's just humbling because you're just like, man, I owe so much. Like, there's so much social debt that I owe to all these people. I'll just never be able to pay it back, right? Because I'm just one operator of this multi-person team, both in the boat and even in my life, right? I had parents who support me and friends who support me and teammates who support me and coaches. All of these people, and like all I do is row the boat down the course, right? All these people take care of all of this other stuff, like the emotional baggage and so you just sit there and you're like, oh man, I owe so much to these people. It's an overwhelming amount of social debt, which is awesome in some capacity, and it's a little overwhelming in others because you're like, boo, you're giving me a little too much credit here, right? Like, you know, but it's cool. I mean, it's incredible.
You walked on. You hadn't rowed before.
Yeah.
What was your first year experience like?
Oh man, what was it like? It was awesome. I mean, I'd never done anything that competitive in my life, and I'm an incredibly competitive person. So for me, it was like finding a drug. It was like every day I get to show up and compete with all these people. I mean, that's phenomenal. Yeah, like let's do it. And they take it seriously. I mean, every day, wake up at 5:30 and go bang chain for a while. It's like, I'm there. This is great. I mean, there was no second thought. There was no second thought in my mind. And if I was up studying late, I mean, it was the thing that I got to do, right? And if I was up studying too late, I would tie a rope to my leg and throw it out the window so my teammates could like pull on it to wake me up. And I was on the second story. I was like, because I was not going to miss a practice, right? I was committed to being committed on it, and it was great. I mean, it was a drug for me.
Well, what is it about rowing that makes it so good for you?
Oh, it's just it's the raw competitiveness, and then the energy that you get with all of the other people in it. I mean, it's like having the energy of 8 people or 4 people in you, and then competing with all that energy. I mean, it's collaborative. I mean, it's the greatest joys in life are like creative collaboration of solving problems, right? I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. And that's what rowing is in an athletic sense, right? Rowing is special in that sense because it falls in a weird world because it's mechanical, right? Very few sports have an oar, a rigger, a rig to them, and have this odd mechanical involvement. Cycling would be something similar in that sense. So it's a weird problem to solve. It's physiologically odd because it's an power endurance sport. It's not a sprint, it's not a marathon, it's kind of both worlds. So physiologically it's very tricky to train for. And then the synchronicity of it is unlike any other sport because you have to do it with your teammates. And so those 3 things make it just a phenomenal problem to be solved. There's a lot of mysticism about it. There's a lot of truths that you don't know what came from. It's very subtle in some capacity because it's very hard to break all of these things down and be like, this is the rig, this is the stroke, this is the way to do it. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of games you can play with it. And so rowing is fascinating because of all of those elements. That's what makes rowing unique. It's unique mechanically, it's unique physiologically, and it's unique collaboratively. And so, I mean, it's the best problem. It's one of the most comprehensive problems in sport because you get to play those games.
You've got to play at a pretty high level the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's been so cool. Yeah.
Really successful. Tell me a little bit about what that's been like and what's coming up.
Oh man, I joke with people that I've like unlearned as many things as I've learned about rowing since I've been at this level because it's that subtle. You know what I mean? I had all these beliefs coming in, and then I rowed with Henrik for the first couple of years, and he's like, this is how it's, you know, like this is how I do it. And I was like, and it worked. And I was like, all right, this is what rowing's like. And then the next year it's a little bit different style, and it's like, this is how it's done. You're like, and that worked. You're like, all right. So it's really, you have to be adaptive as far as, you know, you just keep seeking the fastest level. But it's just been, I mean, it's been phenomenally fun. I mean, how could you, you get to race internationally against the best people in the world with your friends. I mean, like, that's it, right? And that's what we're talking about, creatively and collaboratively solving high intensity problems under pressure. I mean, that's where it is. I mean, that's the joy of the thing in some extent, even though it's stressful and even though it's not. It's got all the elements of everything I like to do. And when it works, it's, yeah. And when it doesn't work, it's devastating, but that's the ante, right?
You got one of the biggest ones coming up.
Yeah.
What's it like to think about that?
I think the play is to not think about it, right? The play is to trust your environment, trust your teammates, trust your coaches, and do everything that you can do to fill your role the best. I mean, that's all you, in the end, that's all you can do, right? If I believe that my teammates are going to push me and I believe that the coaches are going to make the fastest boats, all I have to do is be the fastest athlete that I can be. And that's all I can do. And knowing the scope of what your responsibilities are is it's a little bit calming. You're like, all I can do is take care of myself the best I can, right? And and that's how I can put the team in the best position to succeed. And it's like, okay, I can do that. I can take care of myself and try and be the best I can.
Rowing is a mystery to a lot of people, but
Yeah,
I've been told,
to me as well.
Well, but I've been told that you can describe the rowing stroke.
Oh, no.
Nobody else.
Oh no.
Give it to me.
Oh, how I describe the rowing stroke.
Yeah.
Oh man. So the rowing stroke to me is all about energy efficiency. Right? And it's efficiency in all forms, because I need to translate this massive force that I generate from my legs, which are my most powerful muscles, from the footboard. So I'm connected to the boat in 2 places, 3 places technically, but my feet and my hands are the big ones. So I'm pushing from my feet and I have to efficiently transfer power to my hands, right? And that's a tricky problem, right? So it's going to involve a whole lot of core strength. It's going to involve a whole lot of coordination as well, right? So I have to efficiently figure out a way to translate all that power from the balls of my feet all the way to the handle of the oar. And then when it comes to the oar, right? So the oar bends, it's flexible. So I need to figure out a way to put as much power into the oar as the oar can withstand, and then let the oar also work at the same time. So it's these two systems, these two very elastic systems working together, and trying to do that in the most efficient way possible.
What does that feel like?
Oh, when it's good, when it's right, it feels amazing because you just know it. The boat's moving with less power than you've ever put into it, right? You're like, this is it. You know it almost immediately, but it's elusive as to how you got there. So you see glimpses of it, and then it's, how do I enlarge those glimpses? Like you do a trip and you're like, ooh, there's 15, 20 strokes in there. That was really on. And then you got to figure out how you get back there, and how do you make that 15 strokes, 25 strokes, 35 strokes, 240 strokes eventually. And it's what cues you to doing it, and then what cues your crew to doing it, and how that all plays in to the whole game. I mean, it's an efficiency game in the end with a power ante. So it's like, it's a fun problem.
How long do you do it? How long is this going to go on for you?
Oh, I have no idea. Again, the same thing with I'm very myopic when it comes to rowing. I'm thinking about tomorrow morning's practice, and then tomorrow afternoon's practice, and then, so I'm gonna do it until I don't feel like I can do it as effectively as possible anymore, until I feel like, my body breaks, my spirit breaks, or, something else happens, and so, yeah, do it as long as I can.